Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to one of my favourite podcast people I'm ever going to have on this show ever. And I've been wanting to get this guy on here for pretty much the past 2 months, and he's been very busy and his internet didn't work. And Donny P314, the Don, the Donster, the Donner. I mean, you had a bazillion different names, and
I know. We'll start. It was a Donny P314.
yes, yes. So.
Yep.
Before I get into it, because I actually do want to tell a story. I was just thinking about it as I was taking
How we met.
Exactly. But first, I want you to introduce yourself. How old are you? What do you currently do? Where you come from? Who are you, essentially? To somebody who's listening to this and has never heard of you, how would you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, my name's Donny. I used to stream full-time as a content creator. Started in 2016. Now I technically stopped doing full-time content creating 2 years ago to get into more of the collectibles industry. I buy and sell Pokemon cards, trading cards for a living. And yeah, it's been going really well. I'm eventually going to be opening a brick and mortar soon. I currently have an office where I buy and sell collections. And that's pretty much it.
That's short, concise, and amazing. So, The story of how we met, I'll tell my version, and then you can correct me and give your side. But essentially, I think what happened was I was playing the game, and I was sitting in Discord, whatever, and some dude had messaged me and said, "Hey,"
I think it was Dutch.
Possibly it was Dudge, yeah, and he was like, "Yo, there's this dude streaming, and he's like calling you names or whatever, like he's talking shit about you." And I was like, "Okay, you know, whatever. Let me check this guy out." So I came to your stream, and I don't know what it was. I think I might have actually been stoned, because I wasn't in that state of like, let me go and just get drama started with this guy. But I was kind. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the universe that day wanted me to be kind with you. And I think the only thing I did was I came into your chat and I was like, let's play. And I just sent you an invite. And then we played one match and we played another match, and I think that was it, and we became friends. I think it was something like that.
Yep. So basically back then I was like, well, we're the same age. We're both 26. I was 19 years old at that time. Pretty much, I was, like any 19, no one did research. They believe what they hear and stuff like that. And basically there, I got to know actually who you actually were, like off stream and off camera and stuff like that. And that's how it all happened.
And then we took it from there.
Words.
Yeah. And then we took it from there, and it was sort of, we started building quite a friendship over the years, in fact, We were... I think we had this wonderful double character almost, where we fooled around, and I remember countless of nights just dueling with you, and I wasn't even live. It was like you were streaming, and I was in the chat, and we were having a great time, and then you vanished, and I vanished, and I stopped playing, and you had a pause, and I came back, and essentially you mentioned something about selling Pokemon cards. And I'm not going to lie to you, I thought, what the hell is this guy doing? I was like, that's genuinely dumb. And then you sent me a link to this app. I think it was called Whatnot. Yeah,
Whatnot.
And I opened it, and it was this live stream auctioneering of rare collectibles. And I look up your stream, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy is made for selling that. It was like you had found your calling in that particular niche of, Pokemon selling, essentially. And I was like, wow. Like, so I want to know, how did that happen? Like, how did you come into the idea or try it? Or
I technically have an experience with selling collectibles. Technically, my whole family's experience with sales. That's my mom is a real estate broker, owns a real estate. So like my brother sells medical equipment into like surgeries. So basically, like in my family, like everyone's very talented within sales and stuff like that and selling. So I used to, before I went to college, it was almost 7 years ago, I used to buy and sell antiques and collectibles. Right? That was how I'd make money when I was like in high school. And then like I stopped doing it because I got into college and I got home. I started streaming. This after I graduated college, and at the end of 2020, I just had like really bad anxiety from being in the house and stuff like that. And I realized it's not worth it to like. There's no money. Like if I'm gonna want to actually be successful, like you can't. I just can't sit home and do nothing and make money from content creating because it really isn't, especially if you're streaming War Thunder. And I just got really bad anxiety just from being in the house because of COVID. And I was like, I gotta go do something. So I got back into buying and selling, and someone told me about Pokemon cards were hot again. I got into it. I started selling, buying collections. And at the time, I really didn't know that much about Pokemon. It took like about 2 months to learn everything. So basically, I had to watch a show so I can know about the evolutions and stuff like that, early evolutions. And then I got the bug where I started ripping packs and became more of a hobby slash I started becoming a collector in ripping packs. I think in 2021 I ripped like $40,000 in packs for myself. No, I'm not exaggerating too. I added it up. And that's how it all started. And ever since then I love the hobby and stuff like that.
But so essentially was that you before we came into the show, you mentioned you had a gambling addiction.
Yep.
And
so basically every person, that's more of like massive thing is like I would go to casinos. Like I had a bad gambling addiction. I haven't gambled like in 6 months. And last year was really bad. I lost a lot of money. I think the most I ever lost in one sitting. I lost 17 grand in one sitting. I'm not kidding. I was playing a lot of blackjack and I came to the realization it wasn't worth it. And last year I almost, like I haven't told anyone this, like I almost lost all my money and I stopped myself before, like I almost like ruined my life completely. And I've come back from it since January. I haven't gambled in about 6 months and I'm pretty much over it.
Do you addictions become kind of a topic
The thing
of
of
mine.
like is, like I have like a disability, or I have Asperger's, right?
Yes.
So people with that, one of the things is you can hyper focus, and it's very easy to get an addiction, especially again because you feel the rush and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I had to fully stop. Like I haven't gambled in like 6 months. And the thing about, also fun fact about people in Pokemon, if you rip packs, most people who rip packs win are gamblers because you're chasing a card.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're ripping a pack. Every person who rips Pokemon packs, who does Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, they're gamblers.
You're chasing the high, essentially, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Even sports people, like you're ripping packs, you're a gambler.
Do you think a lot of that might be based off of also, obviously addiction is a thing I like talking about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of addictions nowadays, from drugs to video games to pornography to food. Obviously, I don't think you're going to deny it. You at some point were also addicted to War Thunder, like I was. Do you think some of that also?
Yeah, it's the only game I played like really enjoyed, because like the only reason I played War Thunder was because I was into history. Like I started playing. I was originally on console. I used to play GTA 5, right? And then I found this game called Birds of Steel, which is technically the actual alpha of War Thunder, like the pre-game they released on an Xbox 360. And I found out about War Thunder, the actual continuation. You're like, oh, let me try this. This is probably April 2015, probably my last month of senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the addiction started. The grinding and stuff like that. Well, I wanted to get to top tier, like American Jets, which was, back then it was the F2 Saber. Then after that, I spent a lot of money in the game. I think I spent over $6,000 on this game.
Jesus.
I know.
And
I haven't really spent much money on the game anymore since like
the
CC.
That's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who've probably spent more.
I know.
We don't know the averages. I was going to ask you, did that drive for War Thunder also have some influence in how it fueled, your gaming, your gambling addiction later on? Was it? Yeah. You think that
I'm not sure. I honestly I think honestly, Game was fiction. It all started like when I turned 21 and I went with my family to a casino. I think that's when it started.
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel the rush of making money. And the thing I'd do is, which I did stupid, like it's for anyone, do not go to a casino to gamble to make money. That's absolutely stupid. Do not do that. If you ever do go, like just for anyone in general, go to have fun with friends. If you're going to make money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally how you lose. Like literally, like I would lose like $1,000 and I'd take $2,000 out of the ATM. Like,
yeah, if you go with the purpose of winning, you're probably going to get cleaned, right?
yep. Because you think like if you win, like, say if you win $10,000, right? Say if you do, that's how they hook you. Because you think, oh, I can beat them. No, you can't beat the casino. They have higher odds. You just can't. Yeah. House always wins. Like for example, like I've had luck happen where like I was in New Orleans in 2021. I played 3 hands of blackjack and I put a $25 chip on a sucker bet. I hit 1,000 to 1 odds. And I won 25,000 like that in 3 hands. And the only reason I walked away because someone there was with me. And that's only I'm able to walk away because what would happen is I would win a lot of money, but I can't walk away because I get greedy and no one's there with me to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
To pull me away.
You need somebody to sort of sober you up.
Yep. Thing is like because it's the high. It's the high you get.
But I also know you, and I don't think
I've also really have never told anyone about this till this stream. Like started a couple of days ago, I started opening up about it.
Does it feel good saying it?
Yes, but it's also really sad that I did that, and I almost went broke because of it. But I've pretty much have recovered. Like, I'm trying to.
I understand that, but I think those are the things that make you. You know, those are the moments that create your personality in the day. And I know I've known you for several years now, and I think it's about 7 now. Yeah, 7 years now. I'm sorry, I don't think it has that much to do with your Asperger's syndrome or as a disability. I think it has to do with the fact that you've always been very focused. It's like when I know
it's hyper focusing.
Yeah, so like but I noticed that when we were dueling, you were a horrible dueler, but then you started training and you got so good so quickly. Everything you ever did in the game that you did put your head to. Well, and I've seen that with you when you did with
because
Pokemon.
What I was doing is I was watching how people do it and then try their strategy, but I'd also change it up and switch it up.
Mm-hmm. But you're a fast learner. That's what I noticed. You would adapt at an insane speed, and I realized that the more we were playing, the more you started to sort of, like you said, copy, but also adapt, because you weren't a copycatter. There were people out there that would just copy what somebody else is doing, but you knew how to add your twist to it, and I started respecting you for that so much more, because you were able to create a unique approach to what was otherwise very similar to mine. So I felt at home hanging with you.
I don't like also I noticed with tournaments, if I do play them, it changes me, makes me like very egotistical, and I just get nasty, and I just don't like. That's why I don't play tournaments anymore. It just changes me, and this is not me. It just makes me for some reason very competitive. I don't know why, and also I don't like the new tournament system with everyone uses sim controls now.
Have you
know about that, right?
Yeah. Have you noticed that same drive of the competitiveness when you were doing the business aspects? Like, do you get that same?
Not really. No.
No.
No. Absolutely not. I don't know why. I think it's because it's more relaxed. It's a relaxed environment. Because there's really no ego. Like for me, I don't have an ego in business. Also, it could be because I'm the only one in my area that also does it too. Also. Like, for example, let me give you an example. Last week, I bought a crazy collection for $2,200. So I decided I don't sell Whatnot anymore because they take too many fees. What I do now is I wholesale stuff. Mm-hmm. I let other people make money. Like, I'll buy it cheap enough where I make money and they make money and everyone's happy. I bought a collection last Thursday for $2,200. Yesterday morning, I flipped it for $6,500. Like, sure, like the total retail is like $9,500, but I made money and he's gonna make money. I like to move stuff quickly. I don't believe in holding stuff for a long time because it makes no sense. Because in this market right now, like the current recession we have, you don't know if stuff's gonna crash or it's gonna get worse. So I believe in like moving stuff quickly.
Mm.
And there's some cards I'll take out of each collection and put in my like grading fund, or like put some stuff away, you know, take a little bit of the collection, buy to put it away, as you know, like you could say it's like basically stocks, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very interesting approach with the Pokemon. Such a
And the thing about this hobby is there's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of scammers. What people will do, right? You ever heard of a term of a resealed box?
reseal box. I'd assume somebody buys something and then takes it out.
So,
puts the bats
so they'll
the
buy
bin.
they'll buy the box. Like, for example, people will reseal like, I'm gonna give you an example. There's a thing called there's a set called First Edition Neo Genesis. It's one of the easiest boxes to reseal. So what people do is they'll reseal it. They'll put fake packs in it, or put open packs in there, reseal the box, and sell it as an authentic box. And people are getting scammed for tens of thousands of dollars. That box retail is like $25,000. So could you imagine selling that box to like a fake box to someone getting scammed?
So this is the equivalent of people selling iPhones on eBay, but what arrives is just a picture of an iPhone, not actually the device, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll send
like
a brick,
like,
so it weighs roughly the same.
Yep. So do you see how Logan Paul got scammed? Do you know about that?
I don't follow the.
So basically, Logan Paul bought a first edition Shadowless case that was supposed to be real. And what's crazy it was authenticated by the Baseball Card Exchange, which was at the time the highest authority of like authenticating stuff. Logan bought it from a card collector called Shine, who's it's a multi-million-dollar collector, for $3.5 million.
Jeez.
And the case was fake. They opened it, and it was full with fake boxes full of G.I. Joe packs. And that's a meme now. So when people think of fake boxes, they say is it full of G.I. Joes?
So they basically started a meme, essentially.
Yep. And what happens there is the company that authenticated the box, now they're in question is the stuff they authenticated also fake? Other stuff, because they had such a high status, right, in authenticating stuff. And that's a big issue. Like $3.5 million, that's enough to like destroy your whole credibility in authenticating stuff.
I mean, it's risky. Anything you're buying, selling online is going to have this risk.
Yeah.
Like Warthner was lucky in the sense that there was really no scamming there. RuneScape that I used to play was a very known scamming environment. I think a lot of the.
Yep, I've been scammed before. Like, I haven't told anyone, many of these people this. I got robbed last year in LA doing a Pokemon deal at Starbucks. So we go in, I look at the box. I was about to give him the money, right? Like, I have the box, man. I'm giving him the money. I give him the money, right? Fucking swipes the box and fucking runs.
Oh, damn.
$6,500 down the drain. $6,500.
Jesus.
Fucking swiped it and ran. I filed a police report, but for some reason, they couldn't. There was cameras in the Starbucks, and they said they could not get a good quality picture on him. Like, that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? And there's cameras on the street, and you couldn't see where he went. And they're like, no, sorry. I'm like, oh, it is what it is. They got it's in California, so they don't care anyway. They also got defunded, so it makes sense.
That's a bummer.
But anyway, there's nothing you could do. Even though there's cameras. I think Starbucks wouldn't give them the cameras too, for some reason. And I think that's what it really was.
But I don't know how it works in America, but is camera proof, like, what can they actually do with it? Even if like
they can figure out who it is, like do like face searches, like figure out who the person is.
But you were selling this to an anonymous person, you didn't actually know?
Oh no, I was buying a box. I was buying it. Yep. Also, the box is fake too, as well. It was a really good fake too.
Damn.
And I had to show it to him.
I mean, the only experience I have with selling is bike components. Like, I'd have something, I'd be selling old sets of wheels and whatnot. And
oh, sorry, I mixed a story about that. That was another deal. Sorry about that. I mixed stories, but
no worries. This is I'm going to give you a tip here. I learned this from a friend who's a piano player, and all these piano classics, when they're playing that, you have no idea what they're playing. So when you're telling a story, right, you don't ever correct yourself, because the people who are listening don't actually know, right? So if you didn't tell me the story was wrong, and I know why you corrected yourself. It's because you genuinely care about the correctness of the story. But
because I don't want people to think I'm like bullshitting or something. I'll say,
yeah,
oh, that
but
was
as a whole, they don't know, right? Like,
okay.
Sometimes I'll tell a correct story fully 100% as it was, and people will still say it's fake. But I guess what I wanted to say is that sometimes the details to people don't really matter because they weren't there. You know, the only person who really knows what happened is that guy who actually cheated you, whose chances of actually coming here and listening to this and being like, hey, my dude, you know, he told the story wrong.
The guy said he was selling the box to help his brother in the hospital.
And it got you a bit moist on that.
Yep. Well, now I only meet people in banks now because of stuff like this.
That's a very good in banks. That's a really good point.
Yep, it has to be secure. Like I'm only if I'm doing a high-end transaction.
I've never thought about that.
It's in a bank vault or a police station.
That is actually genius.
Nothing can bat. What are they gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you'd be very stupid. Like those are good cameras. Like it's also federal. So like you try to rob, you're fucked. You're not getting away.
That's a really good point. What was the platform that you use for? Is it eBay or?
I used to use eBay. So what I knew is I know people in the community, and I sell to them to whatnot streamers because they're paying 78% because they need product and they sell quickly. So that's what I'm doing. I basically fund as in like past 2 months. I sell to streamers at 78% of last solds. They make 20%.
Because we have specific websites for, you know, selling stuff. It's one based in just Slovenia. Then I've never actually used eBay.
I sell mainly everything through Instagram, believe it or not, or Facebook. Like there's all these like Facebook groups and stuff like that.
Facebook groups are genius. Yeah.
Like there's Pokemon Facebook groups. I've met a lot of big people in this hobby. Like I've literally had dinner with Chumley from Pawn Stars. I even have his phone number. So I'm not kidding. Like I have pictures to prove it.
Have you with this done a lot of networking? Because that's been one of the things I've done in the past 5 months is just networking.
Yes, there's a lot of networking. There's a lot of big high-end people that are in this hobby. Like, for example, do you know Steve Aoki? He's a big collector. He's he's a really big car collector now.
Steve Aoki is a collector?
Oh yeah, he's ripping hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of boxes.
I mean, he's got cash
sells
for
on
that, so.
Yep. He's actually at the next I think the Collecticon in Denver, he's performing.
That's how you mentioned convention in December. How's that going along? Is that still a plan? Did you have to scrap
my
it?
Convention?
Yes.
My convention? I'm doing it in January. I'll have it set up yet. The thing is, like, the last show, it did okay, but it almost went bad because I had a former organizer who didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost actually screwed me over and got me, could have got sued. I fixed everything because I had to fire him, get a new person. He tried to hire 21 voice actors for a small first-time convention, and you don't do that.
That's got to cost a lot.
Yeah, because if they don't make their guarantees, because voice actors... I'm podcasting. Sorry about that. That was my mom.
Yeah, not a problem.
She's fully walking now. She had a scare last week. She was in the hospital because we thought she had a serious bacterial infection that wasn't going away. She's back now, so I'm happy about that. What were we talking about?
We're talking about the convention 21 voice actors.
Yeah, so basically at the show, I made a little bit. Basically, pretty much broke even. And that was also one thing that when I took like 2 months off in March, I got a bad taste in my mouth because I could have made much more money. I just had I basically had 21 days advertising. And I did the best I could. I saved it to where I saved the name and stuff like that, but it could have been more successful if I hired the right person. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean with this hobby. It's all about trust and who you know. I found the correct person who I'm going to do business. I found the correct organizer, basically, who basically saved my show. So I'm going to have him work my next show, which is going to be in January. And we're going to basically, like, the first show is basically a learning experience, what you could do, what you can fix, and what you could improve.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 5 voice actors. I think my next one, I want to try to see if I can get the voice actor who plays Naruto for my next show.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one we had the voice actress who played Nico Robin from One Piece. You're not into anime, are you?
No, I'm not into Marvel actually. So.
No, okay. Yeah. So we had that. We also had. Did you ever watch cartoons as a kid?
Which one?
Did you ever watch like old like cartoons? Like you ever watch Ed and Eddie as a kid?
Absolutely, I have. Yeah, the old
So
Cartoon
we had the
Network
voice.
was.
We had the voice actor who played Rolf.
Mm-hmm.
And he also did he did Goku's voice with his Rolf accent. It was pretty funny. But so anyway, how have you been overall? Like, well, how's your business going with your website and stuff like that?
I've put everything a bit on a hold because I started working as a content writer or copywriter back in January, and I was very fresh on the job. And then I had I was on leave because I had this surgery I had to go through, and I've been putting a lot of focus on actual work for the past 2 months, just making sure that I get into, because it's a good company and I want to stay there for as long as possible.
Okay.
Other than that, doing a lot of networking, and the website, the whole thing, it should go live in a couple of days, actually. That's the plan. I should have done it way sooner. A lot of debating around whether to do it as an online course. Now I'm trying to sort of segue more into like coaching, where the idea is that you would get the course, which you can then watch and you can get some information from. But because I love talking to people, I prefer to actually have a voice call, and you sell them, you can give them 30 minutes of free time. Look, if you're let's say you're from Afghanistan and you want to learn how to speak British English, what are some of the obstacles, blah, blah, blah. And it's more personalized, and I get to actually meet people from around the world. So is something.
That's one thing too, like, in general, like, I've ever told you, like, I hate texting people. Because I feel like I can literally get a whole conversation, like a 5-minute text conversation done in like 2 minutes with voice, or 1 to 2 minutes. I'm like an old school person. I like talking to people, and I think it's better than a text to get the message through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I rather like have an actual conversation with them. I don't like texting people. Like I hate it.
I'm very similar to that. Yeah. In fact,
I'd rather just talk to them with my own voice and explain it to them, because it actually means something versus texting.
Yeah. I've done a lot of, I don't know if you're aware of the mastermind, right? Have you ever heard of masterminds?
Mm-mm.
So the idea behind it was coined by an author of a book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Essentially, the idea being that you put a bunch of, very influential people in the way they think, you put a bunch of entrepreneurs into a room, right, and they all have a debate, they will be able to achieve so much more. And so one of the things this guy talks about in the book is that essentially, like, he would have conversations with the most influential people in America. So he would imagine he's walking into a room and you've got the president of the United States and Tesla, and in this case it would be like Elon Musk, and you have a conversation with all of them, and you almost build this character for each and every one of them. And at the same time, I got a opportunity. I met this kid. He was like, "Yo, I'm 21. I'm like doing a bunch of like entrepreneur stuff, and I'm looking into Facebook marketing, and we're opening up a mastermind." I was like, "You know what? Let me join that." And my life just changed, because I've met so many people in the past. I've met more people in the past 6 months that are in business.
It's all about networking.
It's all about networking. It's so much about networking. And so now like every other week that we have a convo, new ideas pop into my head. New business ideas that I might pick up and do. I started coaching a kid from the group on dating, of all things. Just because I found it fun, and I saw that he has some issues talking to people, and I'm a little bit more open about it. And so I'm extremely excited about what the future holds, essentially. Compared to where I was, I want to say 8 months ago, where I was a bit lost and a bit confused and a bit depressed and a bit sad and a bit directionless. It's a wonderful time to be alive, but I'm also very hungry. I am hungry for something big, and so I do miss YouTube, I do miss content creation, but I want to come back here when I've got more oomph, when you've already built something.
So you want you'll play games again once you build everything. Is what. What?
I mean, I would love to have a podcast, right? Like, I'd love this thing, Doom Time, to be a big thing, a thing that people get to listen to and enjoy and learn. But I cannot put all my effort into it now because it's not making any money. It's spending time, and even though
that's one of the reasons why I quit streaming, because I was learning, because when I started streaming full time in 2020, I did Twitch streaming. It changed me. It made me very money hungry because I was basically needed to survive on that, like to make income. But the thing is, it changed you. It made streaming not fun for me. Like that's what I mean with the anxiety. I hated it. Like, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So like at the end of 2020, I basically I pretty much took 2 years off. And I just came back in March because it took 2 years to get over it. But now I just stream for fun. I don't care if I make money or not. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, when you stream for money, it's just not fun because it makes it feel like a job. And if I want to stream games and something, I want to actually have fun.
yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. I mean,
because if I have a stable income, I can stream for fun and not worry about it.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I created with Pokemon. I now have a stable income. I can stream fun and play games. And I'm be honest, like, everyone, like, there's, like, if you're playing War Thunder, there's no money. There's absolutely no money. It's a free to play game. Most people can't afford to donate to Twitch streamers, stuff like that. I'm just being honest. And you probably would agree with me on this too.
It's true.
The only way you make money is if you're a big YouTuber. And like, that's literally like Bowtime. Actually, I think Bowtime has the highest paid, I'm pretty sure. Which like, he has a following. The thing is, like, he plays other games too. And he's more variety and everything with his Twitch stream. And that's why he's like really successful.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to get to that point.
Yep. Or if you're a VTuber, but
yeah, but also part of me is also keen on just disappearing from social media altogether. Part of me would love to just, in like 5 to 7 years time, have a woman, just move somewhere quiet, maybe the Balkans, seaside, and just live a life away from everything that's going on in the world. No TV, no news, just live, and for that, I think you have to first, grind through some stuff. And so,
and actually, believe it or not, I have been enjoying War Thunder again, because I think the simple thing is the only way you can literally enjoy this game is you just don't care about it and just like laugh it off and stuff like that, and you have fun. Like, that's literally the only way you can enjoy this game. But it looks like, do you know about the review bombing, right?
Yeah,
they actually made, because of that, I think, would you say that kind of woke them up a bit?
Not enough. And it's never been enough. This isn't the first time that the community's done an outrage. They don't care, ultimately. They're a business. They look at it from a business perspective, and that's the... I hate using this. This example is going to suck, but I'm going to say the words OnlyFans. I wouldn't want to date a woman who makes her money through OnlyFans, but at the same time, part of me wants to say, you go, girl. It's a business. You're able to monetize your body or whatever, and you're making great cash. Like, I think the person who pays for that is dumb. I think that the person who does that as a living, I would say, is it's not the best from a moral, ethical standpoint. I'm against it, but from a business point of view, from a business venture, I can't but say brilliant. And so for Gaijin, I look back now through a different lens, and I think their business model is genius. Like, it's just smart. Now, I haven't looked at their financials. I don't know if War Thunder is massively profitable, but you would probably agree that the way they've set it up, where every new patch, which comes out like
they're making a ton of money.
They're
making a ton of money because they get people. No, honestly, I think the only way, like the only real way, they would stop their stuff is everyone just stops spending money in the game, and I think that'd be the real way for them to listen. To be honest with you, they stop. Is no one spent money for a certain amount of time. Like that'd be the only thing. Like that strike they did, and they did nothing. To be honest with you, it was just. Because people on, was it Reddit that announced it or did it or something?
I probably was Reddit. I mean, they start
yeah.
most of them, but
Yeah.
you know, they
Like,
have a point.
I do like some of the changes they announced, like a map voting system. Like, that's actually a pretty good idea. I've actually wanted that for a long time.
Yeah, but that's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's also like, you know, how many ideas we had. The game isn't complicated to fix. It's just
what they should do is just make a War Thunder Classic, anything before 1.69, and there you go.
Yeah, that would be one of the ways to do it.
Call it War Thunder Classic, and I just play that.
Yeah, we would definitely come back and try. But, you know, the question you ask me, Donny, all the time is, do you still play games? And my question to you, obviously, the question I ask to all people that come on this podcast is, do you still play War Thunder, and why?
I do.
And you play it because it's fun, right? I mean, somewhat.
I just no camera. Like, there's some stuff I'll get mad at. It's like I just got like guides and stuff like that, but you just basically just don't care about the game. Is literally how you have fun or play with people.
Because you see, personally, I didn't think I was.
Because I've learned. Go ahead. Oh, you want me to?
No, go on.
Like. Okay, I lost my train of thought. You go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that for me it clicked somewhere. I didn't think I was going to get to a point where I could actually fully quit the game, but I don't find it fun anymore. In fact, no game is fun. Every couple of months, I will open up a single player game. I remember I was sick at the start of the year, and I downloaded Max Payne 3, and I played through it, right? And maybe later this year I'll download Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and I'll play through it. But that's like, 2 days where I put like 5-6 hours in and just play through, and that's it. That desire to like sit in front of a computer and play has just completely disappeared.
I was kind of the same way for 2 years, because after that, I just didn't want to play a single video game for like 2 years. But honestly, like, I tried different stuff. I think mainly just because I did it for a job and they kind of ruined it for me. But after 2 years, since I don't have to worry about it anymore, I can actually have fun again.
Mm-hmm.
Without like, thing is, like, I actually played some, like, you ever played Sim with VR?
Sim with VR? No, I've never tried VR actually ever.
It's really fun. Like, there's a lot of VR games. I think VR is honestly really fun.
I think it's scary. And I'll tell you why. Mark Zuckerberg scares the living crap out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
big tech. Big tech.
No, not necessarily big tech. It's just the idea, because I realize where we're going, and where we're going is that
we're gonna have like VR headsets like connected to our brain, like SAO.
Yes, and I'll be able to.
And they get trapped in a game.
Yes, and I'll be able to live an extremely exciting life of an extremely exciting person in an extremely exciting world, even though as soon as I take those headphones and VR headset and all those diodes that are going to give me all the fancy feelings away, my life is going to suck. That's what's scary for me, is because people are going to get caught up in that, and it's going to be not just an escape, but it's going to become the reality, and we're going to see. I've done a lot of reading and statistics. I care about mental health, primarily of men, because men's suicide rates are through the roof. Men who are not in relationships, who are not having sex, who are not meeting women, who are not living a fulfilling life, they're going through the roof. There's a statistic that says that by 2030, 54% of all women will be single. That's a scary number, and that's women between the ages of like 24 and 42.
Is that what also continues where like Elon Musk saying like birth rate's going to decline?
Yes, absolutely, because these are things that we're not. We're not talking about these things, and it's becoming.
He's brought that up. I saw where he brought up saying like human growth is going to decline. It's going to drop.
It is
in the next like a couple decades if nothing's like done about it.
I'm not. It's not so much I'm afraid. I think I've become aware of it. It's when you become aware of a thing that goes on, it starts to become difficult to not see it, right? So like, I know in America there was this huge issue with it still is like homelessness in San Francisco and LA, right? Like if you were to live somewhere in that state or in that city,
I would never live there.
No, but let's say you're living there, but you're living in a place that you don't get to see all the bad bits. You'd be convinced everything's fine. You have food on the table, your bus is on time.
That's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, but like the issue is when you walk through the favelas, when you walk through, the bad bits, when you see it with your own eyes, then you start to sort of like, wait a minute. That's why part of this podcast for me is important, because I've been through the shit that's been caused also by video game addiction, also by me being convinced I'm an introvert and I don't want to go out, I don't want to meet women, I don't want to have fun with friends or whatever, and like all these things that they are kind of connected, because as men we tend to escape, we tend to try to find solace in these technologies that are here. And so when I see the the TikTok addictions and stuff, it freaks me out, because I think to myself, damn.
Do you watch it? Do you go on TikTok?
I don't have TikTok, but I will find myself wasting hours scrolling through pointless TikToks on Instagram, Shorts? Right? Or YouTube Shorts, and I don't know how to like. This is what I'm going to do, and this is happening in about a week's time. I've actually ordered an iPhone, and I hate iPhones. If you know me, you know I'm like an Android hardcore. I want to have.
Yeah, I have an iPhone. I have an iPhone because my whole family has it, so I can FaceTime them and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I never wanted to have an iPhone, but I've pulled the trigger, and I'm going to test out the 13 mini. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two phones. I'm going to have the iPhone only for calling, taking photos, and streaming music. That is it. No social media, no nothing. And then I'll have the other phone, my Android, my old Android, for everything else. Because I find myself being completely distracted. Like right now, we're having a conversation and I'll get a DM. It could be anything. It could be Instagram, could be a Tinder notification, could be a Facebook DM, right? Could be a WhatsApp message, could be a sales somewhere. And then and I'm distracted. And I forget what I was thinking about. And I forget what I was going to talk about. And it happens during work, happens during recordings. It's a distraction. It's a reset. I read somewhere that, let's say you're doing some deep work. Let's say you have to write a book, just a random thing, and you get distracted. How long do you think it will take you to get back into that same state of deep focused work?
Quite a bit, because like for me, I can get distracted really easily. That's one of the reasons why I went back on ADHD medicine, so I can focus and also more mental clarity. Because the thing with ADHD, like I have severe ADHD as well, so I can like get easily distracted and go like, "Oh, what's happening?" Like just forget what happened, stuff like that. Get easily distracted. I'm
similar, and the number is up to 23 minutes. 23 minutes. You imagine, you do your deep work for 5 minutes, and then you're finally in that Zoom where you're like, "Oh my god, I'm putting all the correct, everything's flowing," and then boom, poof, reset. 23 minutes. And that's scary to think, that we hemorrhage so much time, that we lose so much time. It's because we think about it. There was a TikTok. Ironically, there is some good content on TikToks. There's some good content. There was a clip from.
I actually started doing TikTok stuff. I started 2 months ago. And I already have 2,000 followers just from doing War Thunder stuff.
You do it as creating the content, right? I would assume you're not spending the same time watching it.
No, I really don't watch on TikTok. I don't even watch shorts. Like I just upload. Like to be honest with you, like I actually don't watch like a lot of War Thunder videos and stuff. Like or a lot of streams. I just pop in sometimes. Like I'm usually always doing my own thing. Like it's weird. Like to be honest, like I can't sit and watch a stream for hours. Like I get bored really quickly. Like it's just weird. Like for me, like I get easily distracted. I'm like because I want to do something because of my energy. Like I just can't. I don't want to sit here and watch something. And that's why sometimes I come in your stream and sometimes I disappear because I'm like, just gonna do my own thing now.
That's because so much is going on as well. Like it's hard for us to focus. We've been sold this ideal. Don't take me for a communist or a socialist because I'm far from that. But I live in Slovenia.
You're a conservative.
I'm actually very right wing. Yeah, but
I am too. But...
the thing is, Slovenia used to be part of Yugoslavia. And Yugoslavia was
communist with the Iron Curtain.
Yes, it was very much a communist state. But what was good at the very beginning when we broke off and became our own country, and what was good about the system is that
Yugoslavian.
Yeah, what was good is that you had one pair of shoes, and you had one type of shirt, and so you weren't. Because people nowadays, and this is part of the problem with America, unfortunately, is that capitalism loves options. It loves to sell you stuff that you don't need to impress people that you don't care about. That Will Smith quote, right? And
You talking when he slapped the?
no. Keep my wife's name. No. There's actually a thing where he says like I think it's like, you work a job for somebody you don't care about to get money, to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't care about. And that's kind of how it goes. Back then, these weren't questions that you were focused about. It was like, if you wanted to buy shoes, you didn't choose between Nikes and Adidas and all the 50 other brands. It was just shoes. Like, shoes were literally shoes. They didn't care what you put on there. Now you have, Balenciaga and Gucci and Lacoste and all these brands, and it all has to be unique. And it matters if you have an iPhone or if you have a Samsung or if you have a flip phone, burner phone, right? People will, in a way, judge you, or rather we think people judge you because we judge them. And I think that's the sadness that's sort of giving us despair, because we've been brought up, and my generation is feeling this. I'm 26 now.
We're both the same age. Well, you're only a month older than me. What day were you born? February
25th.
So, fun fact, you are 2 days older than Pokemon.
Really?
Pokemon Days, February 27th, 1996. That's when it started.
Damn, that was my grandfather's
The first card
birthday.
came out that was Pokemon Day. February 27th every year is Pokemon Day.
Damn.
Yeah, I thought you would know that, but
I didn't.
You probably wouldn't have known.
I didn't know.
I was like, "It's your birthday on February 27th." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. You're born on Pokemon Day," because I wasn't sure it was like one of those dates.
Yeah.
I also remember your old I still sometimes watch your old highlights from 7 years ago.
Guilty pleasure. I sometimes watch. This is gonna sound really fucked up. Or maybe I don't know, but I still watch sometimes my old content, because my mentality was always create content that you would want to watch. Speak in a way that you would want to listen to yourself speak. Talk about things that you'd want to listen to yourself talk about. At the end of the day, look, we're going to record this podcast, and then in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I got to put this episode up on YouTube. I'm going to have to sit down and listen to the whole conversation again. Hopefully, I'll be diligent to do that. And then get a few markers, get a few timestamps, create a couple of TikToks, put them out there, And so if I didn't enjoy our conversation now, then I'm definitely not going to enjoy it then. I want to be able to enjoy listening to my same voice over and over again. That became maybe part of the addiction that led the actual voice to develop, because it was like...
I have a question. That was the persona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the ego thing. That was a complete persona, because I know you're completely different off stream compared to...
I mean, I think
it's like
I think what the OrangeDoom was, it was like filling the gaps that we're missing. If you've ever done any of those,
you're creating an experience.
Yeah, when you have it looks like an octagon where you'll have different like a psychological exam, and it will say how moral are you, how ethical you are, and then based on the degree, it will create this pattern. Do you have an idea? I have a really hard time describing it, but essentially, all of us were lacking in certain departments. I was lacking in the fact that I was very introverted, I was very shy, I wasn't very outspoken, I was very...
I watched a lot of your old videos where you're like you said, you're shy.
Yeah, and I think I went into the extreme. I think what I did was I realized that, if that's Andrew Tate of War Thunder, fine, but I think I wanted to... part of me wanted to feel what it was like to be godlike at something. That's why God of War, that's why all the efforts. I wanted to feel what it was to be the best at something. Because, as a kid, I was a huge fan of football, and I was let's say I was the third or the fourth best in our class. That's just in our class, not even in our school or in our city or in our country or in the world. It's a very small thing, and it wasn't enough. I was still hungry. I was like, I want to know what it feels like to be the best. And as I'm saying this, I'm now remembering how nice it would be to start another business where I can get that feeling. And it's not some shitty video game, but it's actually life, and you're doing something that's giving people that drive.
Yep. And also, I'm when I watch a lot of my old stuff, I get upset, like how I used to act like very cringe, and how I'd like let people like troll me, because for me, like my discipline, I'm like 5 years behind everyone, right? Like mentally, if that makes sense. Like it took me to like 2 years like to realize, just if you ignore stuff like that, they fuck off, like they go away. Because technically, like if you troll someone, you don't get a rise out of them, they leave, they get bored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you remember I used to get trolled badly back in the day.
Yeah, but the thing about trolls is, part of that was also fun. Part of the trolling.
Well, there was also people who did troll because I had like a disability though, and I couldn't take jokes, and they knew that.
But would you say it made you a stronger person?
Well, it made me like strong, but the people who were doing that, I'm sorry, but I don't know if I should say this on Twitch, but if you have to troll someone with disability and you know they have and they get jokes, you're mentally ill.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be honest.
But the way I looked at it always was like, I felt worse for them. Like if you really think about it, it's like,
because a lot of them who did that, a lot of them are losers. Like I know some of them who are literally like drug addicts.
People will make fun of you all the time. Like it's gonna be, this constant attack. The reality is that I can make fun of you for having, let's say, Asperger's, which wasn't your choice. It's not like you were, you clicked a button.
I'm born
like,
like
I want
that,
exactly. You were born with it. It's a thing that was given to you. I have orange hair. Not a lot of hair right now because I've completely cut it off because it's summer. But these are the things that we're given. I always say it's like you log in to life as a video game and you press this big ass, randomize button and you get something. Some people are tall, some people are short, some people are skinny, some people are fat, some people are white, some people are black. It doesn't really matter. What matters is how you're able to build your character up. And so what I find funny is that you're going to have a person who comes to you.
It did make me tougher though to realize like how the real world is.
Absolutely.
It made me get thicker skin though.
Yeah, because look, people will be like, oh my god, look at this kid who had Asperger's who's selling Pokemon cards and then gambled it all. It's like, yeah, but he had to get to the point where he could gamble it all, which you didn't do. People have that thing where they'll come around and they'll be like, oh, ego boy, and it's like, yeah, but I had to get to there. Like people right now will say, oh, haha, look at you upload a YouTube video and you barely get 500 views. And I'm like, still more views than you will ever get.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You have to always be able to just like, who's this person who's complaining about me? Like, who are you to judge me?
You know what? Also, fun fact too with YouTube, like people don't know this, but if you like say like you get a whole bunch of people in your disliking video, it actually helps with the algorithm. So you're actually giving them more exposure for people to click that video and see what was wrong with it.
Yeah, isn't that quote? Like, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, you're helping them.
Yeah. Like Reddit fucking can't stand me. Probably now they might change their opinion a little bit.
It's probably different people than what you used to know.
I'm sure, but I'm sure that, the ones that were there and were giving me crap for it, they were just publicity. I'm sure somebody clicked on one of those posts and was like, "Oh my god, this guy is really bad," and actually ended up enjoying me, and it was like, that's fine. Maybe some dude found me through being a friend. Like, we could have been arch enemies. If only I had a different reaction. I could have very easily came into your stream that day and just been like, "Yo, mate, shut the fuck up. You're a pleb. You don't know how to play the game. Get out of here." That would have completely changed the approach we have. And so I think you're one of the first people that I'm intrinsically aware of in my memory where my approach towards your, let's say it was hate. It wasn't really hate from you at the time, but let's say it was hate.
Because I believe what people said and I didn't do my own research and due diligence.
Yes.
And also like and people don't realize in Reddit, like what you did, right? It was a show, it was a performance. Like, it's just like, it was your persona. It's like how Dr. Disrespect, he's basically like he's acting. Like that's not how he acts like IRL. That's literally pulling a character.
Well,
or like Tyra 1 becoming like it's all personas and for content and stuff like that. And that was your way of giving content to your viewers. to keep them engaged and stuff like that.
Yeah, people like to think they have you figured out. They like to think they have you compartmentalized. They like to think they have you all figured out and they know exactly who you are and what you are. And you have to constantly surprise them. And I think when people doubt in you, that gives you a certain amount of power. Like, that's one of the quotes I really like. It goes by this. It says, tell the world what you're going to do, but first show it. I think it's beautiful.
I remember when your first highlights, like, you were making jokes like I was born with aimbot and it was installed in my hand. It looks like that.
I think a lot of what Twitch was, for me at least, was almost like a comedic performance. Is being able to, first and foremost.
That's literally how you grow. Like, you have to have a personality. Like, you can be good at the game.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're good at the game, don't have a personality, no one's going to watch you. Like,
but I'll tell you where this...
Actually, no. They will, because it's War Thunder.
Nah, I don't know, man. I think ultimately without personality, they won't care that much. But I noticed that this is a concept used in pickup artistry. So in dating world, if you're trying to, like, be smooth with a woman, women will often make fun of you, and they make fun of you to sort of test if you really are the man that you're trying to perceive. And so one of the simplest ways to do is so-called amuse and amplify, where basically, like, she'll make fun of you, and instead of you trying to block her, trying to deflect that joke, you want to make it bigger, you want to amplify, you want to make even more fun of yourself, and it shows to her that you're completely comfortable with being made fun of, and it takes away the power from that person. And I was using the same concept on stream. I didn't know this at the time. I didn't know about women back then, but I knew how to play somebody in the chat, how to make sure that, because you have different types of, yes, but also you have different types of trolls. You have the troll that you want to just ban and get him out of there, because he's literally going to be a bad case of bad publicity.
They're doing like the TOS stuff, like saying doing stuff that's like literally TOS and get you in trouble. Yeah.
Yes, but then you also have the trolls that are good.
I got swatted on Christmas Eve in 2017, right?
What? You got Jesus. But that is an American thing, Donny. That's like nobody's ever getting swatted in Europe. That's such an American thing. It was
someone, I don't know. I still don't know who it was till to say. Someone in the War Thunder community. Yep. I think what was the story? With the officer, they came in with AR-15s, search and analysis. I think the reason was, I remember. They said that I killed my mom. I was armed with AK-47s and bombs, and I was going to go attack a school or something like that. And then as soon as they knocked on the door and they saw my mom there, they knew it was bullshit. And it, like, changed the whole thing. So, like, it, you know what I mean?
But that's so, what's scary about that is that...
What could have happened is, what if they would have barged in and killed someone? Like, that's the thing that's scary about swatting is people don't realize, their goal is funny, but you could literally get someone killed.
Yeah, this is there was a case I read about this a month ago. So there was a few kids that went on top of a.
It's usually kids that do this. It's not usually adults.
It's almost always kids do this, and they went on top of a intersection and they were just throwing rocks at drivers, and lo and behold, they killed the driver, and now they're going to spend the rest of their life or whatever in prison, and it's this. As a kid, you do some really dumb things. And I think it boils down to this, I call it the stovetop. Everybody gets burned on a stovetop at some point in their life. And it's good to do it early. It's good to get properly hurt early when you're a kid to learn, so that your noggin gets the information. It's like, okay, stove hot, don't touch it. But somebody who doesn't get through the process is likely going to get way more burnt later on in life, right?
That's like negative reinforcement is what you're...
Yeah.
You know what that term is, like positive and negative reinforcement?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know. It's scary to think. I mean, that people actually do that. That their lives, that somebody's life is so miserable and empty that they would instigate a swatting. I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, what would somebody have to do?
Because they're edgy and they think it's funny, and they probably never been.
So completely,
never probably got in trouble.
Yeah, completely oblivious of the actual.
They don't understand the repercussions.
It's
Like it was like this was like 2017. I was like 20 years old when it happened. I was just playing Hearts of Iron 4 with my friends. So we were just playing a nice quick game of Hearts of Iron 4. It was like the night of this it was Christmas Eve. And my mom gives me a call, says, Donny, listen carefully, go outside with your hands up. There's a SWAT team outside. He said, do you want to talk to him? I was like, yeah, I think I might have been told. I said, we figured just come outside. We're just gonna make sure everything's okay. And I did that, listened to him, and they could tell like way before that, but they checked the house just to make sure, protocol. But yeah. Ever since then, like I moved, like I'm in a different house than I was. Because they were gonna sell the house anyway, so like I just been very careful. Like I haven't clicked any links.
No, but it's scary like that. As a kid, to put your
people would literally post my address in the Twitch stream. It's fucked up.
Yeah, that was part I was never afraid of because in our country nobody gives a shit. But it is.
Subjective.
It is a stressful thing to think about.
It can be very, very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's all about being careful. Like same thing with the Pokemon community. Like it's hard for me to trust people. Like I've grown with this stuff. Like I've learned like to literally watch people. Like I was like 2 years ago, I was like really naive and stuff. Like I always think, oh, all people are good and stuff like that. Nope, it's not how the world is. I'm always on my guard.
Yeah, those are really scary things. That's partially what I'm actually afraid of ever going to America. Is this, this freedom of getting shot everywhere because you could. Like, there's and then.
Well, it also mainly depends on what area you're going to as well. If you're like in a bad area, then obviously, but usually nothing bad happens like in safe areas.
Yeah, most of the time. Obviously, it's also we only hear about the bad things because the media outlets are running out of things.
It's mainly big cities. Big cities are bad. That's actually I think that's pretty much of any big city in the world. It's always dangerous. Versus like a small a town of like 14,000. Because usually everything's like safe. Like the police is usually really good. Like in my town, like nothing bad really happens. The only thing that usually happens people get pulled over for is speeding, and that's it. Like there hasn't been a bank robbery in my town probably like 15 years. Like that's how good like the police are. Like if you go a mile over the speed limit, I'm sorry, you're used to Imperial. You go 1.6 kilometers over the speed limit, they'll pull you over.
Oh yeah, also that part about miles and feet and gallons and pounds.
Well, technically, to be fair, almost every pilot uses Imperial. If you didn't know that.
Like what I like about
feet and knots.
Miles.
Feet and knots.
Here's the thing: miles are easier to say. Feet is easier to say. Like how fast are you going? 60 miles an hour. Really easy to say. As opposed to 100 kilometers per hour. It's annoying. It doesn't go off the tongue as much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easier to say like a lot of like Europeans like they Imperial, but it's easier to say. Like I'd rather say, how tall are you? Oh, I'm 6'2". Not like, oh, I'm 190 centimeters.
It is easier to say. Yeah.
It's easier just to say 6'2".
Yeah. Or gallons, milliliters. Like
1 gallon is 3.7 liters.
3.7 liters, Jesus.
Yep, it's 1 gallon. How is gas over there?
Yeah, I was about to say. I think it's 1.6 euros per liter.
Oh, yes. That's a lot. You're getting scammed.
I remember the cheapest it was ever. It was like September 2020. It was €1 per liter, and that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
You know how much? Want to know how much it was during the pandemic here?
It's gonna be $1.20 for a gallon.
$1.50 USD
for a gallon or a liter.
Yeah, a gallon.
Oh my bloody god! Jesus Christ.
Right now, it's like in my town, it's $3 a gallon.
Although you guys do, like a lot of people in America drive those gas guzzling pickup trucks. So like,
the thing is, like, you guys do pay more for gas stuff than most Europeans because they don't have the oil. They have to import it.
I think we're being milked. I think we're being really milked.
I think Saudi Arabia has the cheapest gas in the world. I'm pretty sure because they have a lot of oil. think Russia too is pretty cheap as well.
Yeah, Russia's got the issue with gas because they supply gas to pretty much half of Europe, and
Mm-hmm.
then you got Germany, and then it's a big mess.
Yep.
You know,
It's been over a year since that whole thing started, right?
with Ukraine, yeah, it's been like a year and
Yeah.
a few months actually. It's
Yep. So yeah, in Texas, it was $1.25 a gallon during the pandemic. Well, we'll discuss this.
Jesus, it's extremely cheap.
$1.25 a gallon in Texas.
Also, keep in mind the average wage, right? Because in America, you get paid what's like the bare minimum per hour. What, like $17, $15?
You know, Florida it's 50. I know Westford in Georgia it's $7 is minimum
Okay.
wage.
Because here it's like 6-7 euros. I want
I
to
think
say.
I think they changed it in Florida.
Chat saying
Currently the weight
$8. Probably depends per
So-
state, right?
this year it's gonna be $13 this year because Florida signed a bill into where like it's gonna raise $1 each year till 2026 when it hits 15. Yeah, 2026. Did I say 2015?
20. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, it's 772. But yeah, like I think it's one like right side of America is the fuel's cheap and like what's your minimum wage in Slovenia?
I was gonna say it's probably about 6-7 euros, or maybe no, it's probably 5 euros per hour.
That's so. What's your taxes?
Taxes are pretty fucking bad. It's like 22-25%.
What's the highest tax bracket?
I think it's 45-50.
Oh,
Yeah, it is. It's
you're getting paid a little. Yeah.
it's about
So
to
yeah,
be.
in America, I think the highest is, I think 37% is the top bracket.
Mhm.
But also we get paid more. But you see a lot of European countries the wage is less, but they get taxed more. And that's the thing I noticed. Like a lot of Europeans will get taxed. Oh, well, you pay for healthcare. Well, and they say we have free healthcare. I'm like, no, you don't. You pay for it in taxes.
But the bigger problem with free healthcare and
Well, nothing's ever free. It's coming out of someone's pocket.
well, the problem with
Nothing's
healthcare is it is free, but it's also shit because like when you need something, you cannot get it. So you
that's the
need
thing
to have
about-
networking. You need to have a friend who knows a dentist. You need to have a friend who knows a orthopedist, surgeon. Like you need to start to get to know people who.
So
be able to hook
with my
you up.
health insurance, I can see someone tomorrow right away.
Yeah.
Like I can like call someone, hey, I'm having this issue, and I can see someone either like sometime this week, like either the next day or this week. Like it's that quick. Like you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait.
It really is bad. Like you have to
But
wait.
there's private insurance, isn't there in Europe? Like it's optional.
No, what they're doing now is they're giving you, like you pay a little bit extra per month, and then you have access to the doctors, and I think that's something worth starting to use. The biggest problem right now, though, in Slovenia is housing, because there's simply not enough apartments, and the cost of apartments is ridiculous.
How much is that? How much is a nice like 4-bedroom house in Slovenia that's like 3,000 square feet?
I don't know how much 3,000 square feet is, but for like a now's house, you're going to be looking at 400 to 600,000 to a million. And like the issue is even rent, right? Because like right now, renting, if I want to let's say I want to get a decent apartment for just myself, like a 1-room apartment, quite literally is going to set me back like 400 or 500 euros.
So
which is going to be a third of what I'm getting paid, or for some people it's a half of what they're getting paid. Add to that expenses of food and expenses of internet and all those things, and you're better off just living on the street essentially.
So I live in a big piece of property. I live probably like in a 1.5 acres. That's how big it is.
Jeez.
It gets a really big piece of property with a house, and it's $900,000. It's like that's the value of the house, the property, but it's a really big piece of property. That's the thing about what most people don't have like other countries. Like everyone has spacious properties. You know what I mean? Because if you look in England, every house is close together. like just barely any property, then they pay so much for what it is.
The worst part is that in Slovenia in particular, we have this. It's a neighborly
Like,
thing, but it's always like the grass is greener at the neighbors. It's
mhm,
all about the neighbor. And what I find annoying is that when you're living in a house, like the way we do, where you have another house to your left, another house to your right, it's there's very little privacy. If you want to have a party at 2 a.m., middle of the night, you want to blast music, you can't do that. So this is the thing. There's always been a driving force in the back of my head. I keep thinking, last year I was spending a lot of time on the coastline, and I fell in love with the area. I fell in love with the environment, the air, the breeze, all that.
mhm.
And I realized that if I ever do go into actually wanting to buy a property, I don't want it to be just a house. I want it to actually have a space around that just separates me, so that if I want to have a party at 4 a.m, blasting techno music from my jacuzzi in the backyard, I can do that. This is what I find interesting about America, is because you have, when I think
It's the
America,
best.
I think about Texas. I think about a ranch. I think about this big ass
Have you
property.
thought about have you thought about moving to America?
No, absolutely not. I live in Slovenia, and the way that I see it is everything north from where I live is severely more socialized, but also severely more fucked, because everything is becoming, it's feminized. It's being liberated by this freedom of everything. And what's happening is that the food quality further north you go is worse. So
Okay.
when people say Sweden, I'm like, just don't. I will go there. I will definitely visit Sweden. I want to see it. But when it comes to, you know, it's just not for me. Where I'm
I've
driven
heard a
to
lot of
is,
people like say some stuff about Sweden.
I don't know, man. Like I have a few friends that like they're in
Well,
love with Sweden. They'd
I have
go
a
there
friend, like
immediately.
one of my moderators is Swedish.
Hmm.
He says he doesn't. I don't think he's in here right now. Like, I think he doesn't like it there
No, like the
because
way
he
I'm
said there's
thinking
nothing to
about it
do
is
there.
like Greece, Italy, Spain, right? Those are countries that I think would be beautiful to live in. You have good climate, you have beautiful women, you have good culture, you have traditional values, you have amazing food, you have places you can ride your bike, you have the ocean. It's just nice. It's like you go there and it just feels at home. And I realized that the further south I traveled, the more comfortable I got with myself, and the more I was enjoying it. And so my plan is to just, any business I will go and venture into is a business I can do remotely, so that I don't have to be based in Berlin in Germany just because there's a good paying job there, because then I have to live in Berlin. I'd love to visit Berlin. I'd love to go there, go to a club. I'd love to get fucked up in the back of some bar, wake up half naked in the middle of Alexander's place or whatever under the Brandenburg tour. But I don't want to live there. I'd love to visit New York, wouldn't want to live there. It's like the place that I would want to call home, I feel in my heart and mostly in my stomach, in my gut, is south. It's somewhere where it's just,
I've heard Croatia's beautiful.
Croatia's very nice, but it's also very fucked. Like, it's really bad. To live there, it's really, really
Is it the
bad.
government there it's bad, or is it?
It's just the it's the pay. The further south you go, the worse people are off, because there's less good paying
Yeah.
jobs. The most
Like,
classic.
you remember when I went to Italy, right?
Hmm.
Like 7 years ago. Like, it's amazing how like cheap the food was for what you get. Like, especially in Rome, and it like shocked me. I was like, holy shit!
Yeah,
Like,
like
yeah, like this normally would have cost like $40 back home where I live.
yeah,
It was like 12 euros.
like I don't know. Like there's a part of me, back when I was still living the old life. I was dating this girl. She was studying to be a doctor, and she was thinking about doing her classes in either Germany or Switzerland. And I thought, I would love to go to Switzerland, right? And you have like a job as a chef there. You work in a hotel. You get paid
Mm.
a lot of money compared to your standards, but not a lot of money compared to their standards. What a lot of people in the Balkans do, in Bosnia, in Serbia, in Croatia,
Mm.
is they travel north.
Actually,
They go to Austria, they go to Germany, they stay there for a couple of months every year, they make a bunch of money, and then they come back. But what's ironic is that these are the types of people that they'll have an Audi or a Mercedes or a BMW, have a really nice, really expensive car, but their house is just like it's just bricks. It's a completely, fucked up looking thing, because they're doing it for the style. They want to look good and drive a fancy car, and I don't know. It's I once joked I'd live in a cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and I think I will eventually divert to that. Like, just genuinely want to be in a cozy environment, with a. I don't know if you watch any of these. Like, I watched a lot of cooking shows, like whether it's Gordon Ramsay traveling or Anthony Bourdain, and it's the poorest sections of the world. They always have the best food, the kindest people, and just the nicest environment. And I crave that, and so my desire really is to one day just be able to turn off all my devices, just turn off access to the internet, and just enjoy life. Just sort of forget the rest of it exists. I think that would be my version of utopic happiness, is where at the moment where everybody else is plugged into their VR headsets through Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse or whatever, and they're all enjoying their life, that's where I want to be, on the beach, just chilling, just having a good time, because life's really way too short to be stressed out about some of those things.
I agree. That's why I don't get mad at like, for something worth it anymore. Like, it's not worth it. Like, there's other things you can get mad at. It's not worth getting mad over a video game.
No, generally getting mad is just a really. I'm
It's
gonna
not
get
worth the energy.
Yeah, I'm getting into stoicism. I'm trying to, because I'm a very choleric person. I get very, very angry very quickly. Especially if I'm driving a car and I'm like, oh my god, these people can't drive. That's another thing. Like, you live in a city, you've got a job in downtown, you're spending hours every week. That's like, I think I did some math, which is, if you spend 40 minutes a day, 5 days a week commuting, over the course of a year, that's a week. That's 1 week of you sitting in a car just commuting. And that's
What kind of car do you have?
I've got a shitty car. It gets me from point A to point B.
Yeah, I have a Toyota Tacoma.
Yeah, but I could have a Lamborghini for all it matters. It would still take me 40 minutes to get from point A to point B, because it's traffic.
It's the roads.
Yeah.
The roads are.
And
also,
so,
I think the roads are not the best in Europe, are they? Compared to, like...
No, they're okay.
I've heard Germany has the best roads in Europe, right?
Sure, but like, here's the thing. If I have to choose between having a really fancy, expensive, comfortable sports car that I can drive on the Autobahn in Germany, 300 kilometers an hour, and having some beat-up four-wheel drive, Jeep from 1991 with no air conditioning, with no roof, somewhere where I'm not going to get stopped by the popos, somewhere I'm on some island in Greece, just driving around having a jolly good time. I know what I'm choosing. I don't need the Lambo. Like, there's this, I don't know, there's a desire to just escape society almost. I think at some level, there's a man in us, that kid that used to spend time digging dirt and playing around in the garden and just sort of escaping into the forest and chopping things. There's this primordial desire for us to just go wild, just disappear. And I keep seeing, I was watching a YouTube video of some dude who lives in the middle of some Siberian forest in the middle of nowhere. He has no one. It's just like, I think he has a dog maybe, but like, it's just, and he's like 70 years old. He's ancient. And he's enjoying life, Like, obviously not everybody wants that life. I don't want that life. I don't want to live in freaking Siberia, but it's the solitude and the escape.
Actually, I think I might be, like, I might be going to Japan in 2 months.
Okay.
For, like, the Pokemon Worlds, but I've always wanted to go to Japan. So I'm going to make a little 2-week vacation out of if I do go. That's, like, one of the countries I actually have always wanted to go to. I want to go to Japan.
Asia for me has never been very interesting. Japan,
You wouldn't want to go to Japan?
No. In fact, if I have to give you a complete honesty, I think the place where I want to be is here. I think Europe is the place to be and the place to stay, right? Africa doesn't interest me. Asia is just not my cup of tea, really. North America, we've defined no. Maybe in the middle of Colorado somewhere, just
You want to go to America?
I don't know,
or
man.
visit?
I'd definitely love to visit. I want to see it. I want to see. But then you could be in America for a year and you wouldn't see everything. Like, I live in one of the smallest countries in Europe, and I haven't seen all of that country in 26 years. So I definitely would want to travel, though. But then there's the problem of, like, let's say I want to go see Machu Picchu in South America, right? And then you go there and you realize, oh fuck, half the world had that idea, and I'm surrounded by tourists. I hate crowded places if I know that I can see something that isn't necessarily crowded. Like, I'd prefer to have a beach that is empty over a beach that has hundreds of thousands of people on, let's say in the middle of Miami, right? It's good to see it on TV. It's good to see it in a TV show. It's like, oh, Baywatch, Pamela Anderson with her big tits running, saving a guy drowning. That's hot to see on TV. But in reality, I want it to be like me, my partner, maybe like 2 or 3 kids, and just that's a little tiny beach in the middle of the Balkans. Be way happier with that than that massive, bazookas. I think your mic's muted, Donny.
I know I'm talking.
Oh.
No, it's like in the game. I got like gangbanged by 8 people. My team was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
I caused one person to crash, but
so, what? I wanted to ask you. So you're currently living in Florida, right?
Yep.
And do you see yourself staying there, or do you see yourself maybe living somewhere
honestly,
else?
I like it here. I like Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Because like how the current world is right now, like I think Florida is one of the nicest places to go right now. The government's good. There's a reason why everyone's like leaving their states right now. Leaving, like I say, like blue states are moving here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a better life. The traffic sucks though.
I mean, traffic sucks everywhere where it's crowded.
The thing is, like, Miami's really bad with it because people down there, they don't know what turning signals or mirrors are, so that you get cut off. I had one guy who I was like driving in, and he's honking me to push, and he wanted me to basically do a U-turn into oncoming traffic. I opened the window and yelled at him, and he apologized.
See, I don't think that culture is going to get better. I think that the utopic version is if you're going to... I mean, okay, if everybody's plugged into the metaverse, then that means less people on the roads, which is good for me. If everybody's in Teslas or like some kind of automated cars, then we don't actually drive anymore, which is... I personally really like to drive. In a few days I like
driving too, it's fun.
Yeah, in a few days I'm driving from capital of Slovenia to Munich, and that's like...
How long does that take?
It's like 350 kilometers, so it shouldn't take too long. It's like, 5 hours or so.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because it's me on the road, but the difference between traveling as opposed to commuting, that's the thing that I think that's so important, and then it becomes a really big thinking process, because let's say the classic style of people living, I don't know how it is in America, but in Slovenia it's like you have, a man and a woman, husband and wife, and they have like a kid or whatever, and they live in a house or an apartment, and they probably both work in the same city. So the location of the house or the apartment is extremely important to the relation of where those things are. Because I personally feel really bad for people who commute like 2-3 hours every single day. That's abysmal, But some people do
the most
that.
I would commute would be like 30 minutes max.
Yeah, but some people do that, And
do you still do a lot of cooking?
I do less cooking now. I try to get a meal prep on Sundays, so I try to just get food prepared for the next at least 3 days.
I told you I can bake really well, right?
I trust you can.
I can make I'm the only one in my family who can make cheesecakes.
Cheesecake's my absolute favorite.
Yep. And the things people don't realize, you have to cook it right. And if the top is cracked, it means it's done. It's overcooked. It's over.
You do it in the
I do a water bath.
You do a water bath. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm usually late. I don't do
texture.
I'm too lazy. I can't be bothered.
And then you basically cook it at a high heat. Then you turn off the oven and leave it open. The oven door open for like 30 minutes. And then you wrap it carefully. Then you put it in the refrigerator for 8.5 hours. And there you go.
Yes. Yes, I still cook, but I don't. It's another one of those problems where you don't want to turn a hobby into a craft, and that was. I enjoy cooking, but cooking as a profession it's badly paid, it's horrible working hours, horrible working environment, and part of me misses it. For sure, the life that I was living a year ago today was a very fun life, but it wasn't the direction I wanted to be on. It was like you're on a path, and it was, and I think that happens, and sometimes you just have to stop and analyze and backtrack and take a different route. And that's the smarter thing to do.
Yep. What do you have you tried top tier jets?
No, Donny, the question that I asked you before, which was, do you still play War Thunder and why? I think you know the answer for me. I don't, and you know why I don't play it.
Because you don't find it fun.
No, absolutely not. In fact, the only thing I would find fun is the old version of Korea, and I can't even get that because the airfields have been moved. So
I've gotten that old airfield of Korea.
Really?
In props.
Yeah. Again, look.
I've also been getting the original OG Japanese maps for mid-tier, so I got Guadalcanal a couple times.
Yeah, well, New Guinea, for example, is a good map, I remember. But for me, that has to have maybe a Bearcat, N1K, prop. These are things just don't happen anymore. Nobody plays those Japanese G8 N1 bombers. Like, I remember the name, I know what it looks like, but nobody plays them. So, and I'm happy. I'm actually happy that they've broken the game to this level because it gives me a valid reason not to miss it.
Yep. I got Norway for the first time in like 5 years.
The last time I played Norway, I got into drama with Mags. So
well, that's where like you killed him. He's like, here's the thing, Orange, and you're from this stream, blah blah blah. He's like, fuck off.
I'm gonna try to get him on the podcast because we had a good relationship up until that couple of those weeks, and then it was
so did you just like randomly join a game, or did you?
What actually happened was that I opened up a stream and he was talking about, I think it was the IS-2 mod 1944, where they had given the tank a round which it supposedly wasn't historically supposed to have, something like that. Whatever it was, it wasn't really correct. And so I was in the chat and I must have typed something like, actually, blah, blah, blah. And he banned me. And I was triggered because I felt I didn't actually write anything offensive. I wasn't making fun of him. I wasn't belittling him. I was just trying to get the facts straight, right? And he banned me, and within like 30 seconds he joined a match. It was him and like 3 other guys in the squad, and he was playing, I think, the Typhoon Mark 1B. So I knew the battle rating, and I just opened the game. I closed the stream. I was Q sniping, right? I was trying to get into a game with him, but I wasn't trying to actually go after him. So I load up the G2, the BF-19 G2, and I just...
That's a fun plane.
Yeah, and I go into a match. And I get into Norway, and I log in, and I press N or whatever it was to get the team scores. And I'm like, okay, so I Q sniped him. I'm in the same game as Mags, and then I just played normally. And I was actually just playing like I normally would, just flying in a straight line, essentially. And lo and behold, the first person I encountered was him, because he wasn't actually side climbing. I shot him down, and then that famous clip happened. And yeah, that was basically it.
Yep. I was also gonna let you know, like, I told you I have a medical card now, right?
Okay. So you're into the Mary J?
Yep. Indica, baby. I used to take a night for sleeping, though.
I hate the...
I only do edibles, so I don't smoke.
I know, but I hate the stigma that's surrounding marijuana here, because a part of me is against it, and I'll tell you why. Because in the wrong hands, it's going to just get you addicted, right? Yeah. But the fact that, you have this beautiful plant which has amazing medicinal purposes and abilities, and not just THC, but obviously CBD, which is great for your muscle recovery and body relaxation.
I think that stuff's good for you. Like I really do. Like I think it does a lot of stuff like THC, CBD. Like I'm a believer in that stuff.
Absolutely.
I was making another kill montage, but I'm bringing back. It's actually inspired from one of your old ones, like an original, like one single plane montage.
You're getting sidetracked here, my man. We're talking about Mary
Sorry,
Jane.
sorry. Yeah, it's my
It's fine.
ADHD.
I'm used to it, man. I'm used to it. I mean, people in the chat are going to be like, oh, this dude just gets lost. It's okay. That's Donny. You know, he's got his train of thoughts. God forbid you get to talk to me if I'm on marijuana, because I'll just go 52 topics. We start talking about, Top Gun, and in 15 minutes we're going to be talking about Lady Gaga. Like, you never know. It's going to go sideways. But my point being
I saw Top Gun for the first time 2 weeks ago.
First one or the second one?
First one.
And you
haven't?
haven't.
I watched the second one after. It was amazing.
It's one of the best movies I've seen in the last couple of years, and it was partially because I'm a plane freak, but it was genuinely good. Back to the topic at hand. I think it's bad because in America you get the option to go into a dispensary and be like, look, I've got this and this problem. I'm trying to solve this and this issue, and they will prescribe you something specifically for that. But when you have when this thing is illegal or decriminalized, but you don't have access to it from a dispensary, what actually tends to happen is that you just buy weed, and you don't know what the fuck is in there. You don't know how strong it is. You don't know where it's from. If it's got some other compound sprayed on it, you don't know which strain it is. You don't know what it's going to do to you, and it gets people hooked up in all the worst ways.
Yep.
And we also react very differently. This goes for all types of substances. We react very differently. I know that in my group of friends, I can handle alcohol and sugar, actually, gluten, way better than them. I will drink more. I'll stay up for longer. I'll wake up first, and I'll be the least fucked up. And there's, some of it that is metabolism. Some of that is, I think, in the head. Some of it might be genetical. But I find it sad because it's such a monetary thing we could do. So if you legalize
I have a medical here.
Yeah. It's good. It's good for the taxes. It's good for the money. It's good for the people because you actually get to help certain individuals.
Yep. I mainly got it for anxiety, but I also use it for, I don't know if you know, I told you I have Crohn's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a irritable bowel disease of the colon.
Yes.
But yeah, that helps with it too. Like the marijuana gets rid of the symptoms and just relaxes you. Thing I've noticed sometimes, I take for strains like indica, sativa, resin, rosin.
Yes.
So I've noticed when I get sativa, right? For some reason I become if I'm for example playing video games, I become really, really good at it somehow because I get this crazy focus.
Yes.
I change to a different person.
Yes, and that's because sativa is made that way. Sativa is made. It's like they call it the day weed, not the daily, but indica is your bloody,
in the couch.
It's on the couch, munchies, no productivity, and the problem is that I personally know that I could smoke indica and still force myself to be productive, but I can feel it. I can feel it it's like somebody put a really heavy, wet towel on top of your head and it's just I just want to just lay down. It feels heavy, and it's great if that's how you want to spend your evening. You want to spend your evening watching Netflix and just relaxing, that's okay. But that's the thing where I think it derives, where people say that weed smokers are lazy. I think that's where that comes from, is because that shit's gonna actually make you lazy. And so not being able to
it does indica, it makes you not want to do anything. Just
absolutely.
The thing is, if you take too much, what'd someone say? What is it called?
Overdosing?
Frozen or something. You're in your own mind.
You're in a different universe.
You're in a different you're in a different universe. You don't know what's going on. I started about a year and a half ago. And I only take what I need. I mainly take it for sleeping.
Yeah.
I usually take it. I don't take it during the day.
what I noticed is I had a problem with migraines. Because when I was 11 years old or so, I crashed with my bike into a car, had a concussion, broke my left collarbone, and a couple of months after that, I noticed that migraines started to happen, and essentially it would be an ocular migraine, meaning that imagine looking at your screen and then pixels would just start flickering, turning on and off. You cannot read, you cannot focus, and then within 20 to 30 minutes, a headache would start to form that was so intense that you just couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. I'd take a pill, I'd vomit, I'd go to sleep. All the blinds have to be turned off, no sunlight, no noise, horrible thing. And
I was getting headaches I've always had headaches a lot, but I went to a chiropractor and neurologist. My neck is actually straight for some reason. So I had to go see a chiropractor to get my neck corrected every week to fix like the straight neck.
And it helped you?
So it's more, it helps a bit. Like it's more of like, I get tension aches. It's not migraines. It's just muscle tension.
There's a lot of possible triggers. I had migraines earlier this year because I was bulking. I was doing a lot of working out, and I was taking creatine powder. And I'm pretty sure that creatine powder was the triggerer. And so it helps to remove some of these triggers from your life. And sometimes it's stress. Sometimes it's, well, you have questions. I always say that marijuana, in most cases, should be a directional drug, meaning that if you have, for men, right, if you have a really important question, A or B, yes or no, you can sleep on it, you can jerk it, right, rub one out, that usually helps, empty the ball sack, gets your head a little bit clearer, and the third one, I always say, have a conversation, smoke a joint, have a pint. You need something that's going to distract you from the problem at hand, and then usually the situation, the questions, the answer will reveal itself in a very spontaneous way. But I noticed that what tends to happen with certain individuals, and it's happened to me in the past, is when you have consecutive, let's say, days where you're trying to find the answer, and our good old friend Mary J will gladly drive you in a circle.
How you call him Mary J?
Yeah, Mary J. Because imagine that let's say that our life is like this. You're walking. I'm going to simplify it very much. This is my theory, but you're walking and you have two sets of doors, a left door and a right door, right? And you'll choose a door, and then you have another set of right door, left door, and so sometimes we like to use substances to help us get a clearer vision of what might be behind those doors. But what the problem happens is when you get onto a track where it's just the left door or just the right door, because what starts to happen is you literally start walking in a circle and you go back to where you came from, and you keep circling. So the stigma is creepy about this. The stigma around mushrooms, about LSD, about all these things, because I've always been very artistic. I don't mean YouTube or creating podcasts, but I used to play piano. I used to do a lot of music. I'm still a huge fan of music, and I realized that the majority of good movies, the majority of good films, movies and films, the same thing. The majority of good art wasn't created by sober people, because you can't. Sometimes you just need that like whoosh,
You remember I was in band.
Yes, you did. Was it percussion or was it?
Yeah, percussion. Yeah, I can play drums. Yep.
And there's something amazing about that experience where it's like you can just lay there and just listen to music, and sometimes you can hear something. I remember so many times I was listening to, let's say, trance music, which sounds very repetitive and very boring, but when I was high, I would lay there with my full focus on all the instruments, and I could see when you're editing a YouTube video, you have a timeline. So you have the commentary, the sound from the game, the webcam layer, right? All these layers, and I realized that the same way music is obviously made, and my brain was able to sort of turn off certain segments, so just listen to the bass, and I could just listen to the bass in the song, and I would hear parts of songs, melodies in the songs, instruments that before I didn't even know existed. And I think so much of that we miss out on in life because we're not paying attention to it, because ironically we're sober most of the time. Most of us are sober, but it's almost like we're in some sort of intoxicating state of just the daily life. You know, we're actually drunk. We're high on life and what we have to do, and we don't realize there's all these beautiful things around us that we can actually be taking in. And so, yeah, just like Vic said in chat now, he said it's like a mental reset.
Yep. Yeah, like how, like, I agree with that. You know how, like, I can get you saw I said I get sidetracked, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Like, that's just like my severe ADHD with like my Asperger's. It's very easy for me to get distracted. Like with life and stuff like that. Like how we were talking about marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and I just switched over to talking about like a montage, and I just changed the subject because I can literally like get sidetracked really easily.
I think
and it's hard for me to like multitask.
I think I might actually have ADHD too, but I'm a whole different concept.
I also have a little bit of OCD too.
Like I think
it's a profit.
I think for me it's I think in associations, right? So I visualize very heavily, and I try to. I never wanted to think in a way that would be optimal for everybody else. I always try to maximize or say optimize my own thinking for my own needs. Meaning, if I have to recall an information, whether it's a number or a name or a year, I want to be able to recall that information as efficiently as possible for me. Now, if that makes it so that somebody doesn't understand how I got to that information, that's their problem. I just want to be able to. Does that make sense? Like build an algorithm for me so that in the moment, it's just simpler. Like I probably Google things differently than most people do, and I think that there's a beauty in that.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's just like hard for me. Like the ADHD medicine I take helps, but I can still get easily distracted. For example, like how do I give an example? When I play video games, it's hard for me to play with people because, like, say I'm focusing on a stream, the people in the chat, and the game, and the music, and it's like 4 different things. I basically get overloaded. And if I get like into a conversation, I just like cannot focus at all. Like if I'm like playing a game where I can't focus at all because I'm in a conversation and stuff like that, or talking to people, and I'm like can't like.
But what about when you're doing something when you automated? Because I remember there was a time where I was playing War Thunder on stream, talking to chat, changing music, and playing RuneScape at the same time off screen. They didn't know that.
I couldn't do that. That's a lot.
But I think if you put your head to it and you practice for long enough, it becomes almost second nature. Because I mean, what War Thunder really was, it's like muscle memory. How do you pull a head on? Like I bet you right now, if you gave me patch 1.69 War Thunder and you put me into a Saber with the same flight model and all that, I'd be able to hit the first rocket snipe from 2 kilometers away. Because it's somewhere embedded into my head. It's like riding a bike. Once you know it, it's just, yeah.
Like how you just get kills with your CL-13 and hit rockets.
Yeah. But I wasn't thinking about it at that time. It was like
I would
look at chat. I would look at chat. I'd be like, "Hey guys, you want to see something cool?" And then I'd just like press the button from 5 kilometers away, and then I would look at chat again. I wasn't even paying attention. It was, and you did better that way. It felt like you were just more efficient almost. So I think there is something to that. If you can master something to the point where you can do it with the back of your mind, that is very, very beautiful.
Yep, that's true. Like, the best thing I can do is I'm streaming like I can talk to chat and play the game and music. If I have like a voice chat in my ears, then it just gets bad. Because it's too many things.
Well, for me, it was always I always played. As you remember, my War Thunder was always turned off.
You always soloed. You always played.
Always solo. Always music that I wanted to listen to, and always in-game sound turned off. Right. For me,
I noticed like if you do that, it forces you to actually look more when you turn your sound off. Yes. Is that why you did that? So you can actually look more?
That was one reason.
More awareness.
And the place where I learned that was in sim battles, because when I was playing sim battles, I had an issue. I wanted to listen to music, but if I listened to music, then I couldn't hear other people's planes. And sim battles was all about hearing the engine, all about hearing the prop and whatever. And I actually believe I trained myself to understand, to feel where there might be a presence, almost like a sixth sense. And this ties into later when I was cycling, and I started cycling with music because I was like, I'm on the bike, I'm riding for 3, 4, 5 hours. That's time that I could spend listening to music or a podcast or something, especially if I wanted to go really hard. Like, let's say 2 hours on a road bike, all out effort, maximum heart rate, maximum force. I want to have some blasting good music, some drum and bass, some stuff like that. And then I realized this was quite dangerous because I couldn't hear traffic, I couldn't hear anything. And I realized that I didn't need to, because I developed a sense for where there might be a car. You just sort of feel it. You're coming around a corner, you're like, okay, there might be a car there. Does that sense make sense? Maybe not, but it's there. I think you can tie into it and master it, and it becomes, this environment. Like, you have eyes on the back of your head almost. I could feel there was something behind me before it was. But there's always a risk. At the end of the day, I think we're risk takers. We should be risk takers. It's what makes us happy. I think we should wrap this one up because it was a very, very nice conversation. We did an hour and 48 minutes, my man.
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
time went quick.
Time flies. So before we wrap it, I'm going to give you the option to ask anything you want, any question whatsoever. I've been starting to do this with my guests because I find that people do have questions backwards. So anything at all you want to ask in any topic, feel free to do so.
What was your tipping point with not doing gaming content creation anymore? Like, what was the tipping point?
For the quitting?
Yes, what was the actual, was it that tournament you did where like you had...
Yes, that was the moment. That was the moment where I was at my edge. And I think if I kept going beyond that point, I would have become suicidal. There was so much tension, that was for me the tipping point. And then I was testing things out. For the next year after that, I was trying to get into a life. And that's also when I got my first girlfriend, and I realized that, hey, wait a minute, life is actually pretty amazing.
Was that Barry?
No. Barry and I dated, but we never had anything. It was like hard to explain. It was my first actual girlfriend with whom I actually had sex, and I was like, oh, wow, life is amazing. And after that, I think also the bike started to happen. Everything sort of tied in. I believe that life provides as long as you give yourself the option for life to provide. And I think that was the first of the turning points. And the second of the turning points was last year in October, when I realized that the kitchen that I had given an opportunity to wasn't really my thing, So yeah, the tipping point was definitely that tournament. That was when I just lost my plot.
I feel that. I can understand, because a lot of tournaments, like, you expect them to be perfect, like no issues. Then when you should have killed someone, or for example, you just get hits on him, then he's like, oh, sorry, that didn't work, and then goes around and he kills you. He's like, oh, amazing game.
Yeah, it was a matter of circumstances, really, but
second chances.
It had to happen. That tournament, I believe, just had to happen. It was written somewhere in the stars. Somebody was like, you've got to quit this shit. And I think it saved me a lot of aches, saved me a lot of pain. Had I stayed there, had I kept developing, there's always ways to look at life and think, oh, it would be better if I didn't. I look back last year, I made a bunch of mistakes, and I regretted them a lot, and I thought about how to fix it. But realistically, where I stand right now, with the mindset I've got, with the drive, I wouldn't want to change anything. And we talked before how, you go back and you watch your own content and you think, oh, how I was cringe. I'm going to come back and watch this video in a couple of years and hopefully think, oh my God, you were cringe back then too. Like, you're constantly moving out of the cringe zone. And that's the thing. You don't ever want to really stop. I think it's a never ending thing. You're just continuously pushing until you're fully out of the water, at which point you're old and you've got a family and grandkids and you die. And then that's it. If you haven't done something nice until then you've lived an empty life. So hopefully we don't get stuck up there.
Yep.
So, Donny, thank you for taking the time. I'm 100% inviting you back here again. A couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, maybe a couple of years. I always say the same thing because we don't know. You know, you're busy, I'm busy. I think you know what, I think the future is very bright for both of us, and it's only a matter of time before we actually get to meet in person and sit on a couch and debate these things. And well, things like we've lost Donny, and you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
I want to show you some. Is it okay? I'm going to show you something I was working on.
Let's wrap this one up and we'll jump in there. So, Donny, thank you for joining, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio.
Okay.